Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So if you're new here, you're about to see the making or the completion of a strawberry themed fabric pouch. If you've been with me for a little while, you would know that I started stitching this when I went on the road for 2 weeks, hosting some stitching retreats, Hervey Bay and Newcastle. So I'm home now and it's time to pull this project together as promised for all you viewers out there who said, please show us how you finish it all up. Now, for those of you who have been with me, you would know that this was going to be a pin cushion. So if you just forget about seeing all that at the moment and imagine this folded in half, having collaged and stitched all over it, running a stitch, overcast stitch around this perimeter to seal it, and also filling it with some walnut shell. And I probably would have made an insert, like a little pillow made of calico to actually hold the walnut shell, just in case my stitching around the perimeter let go and I'd have walnut shell falling out everywhere. So I would have most likely created a tiny little cushion and stuffed that, then placed that inside and stitched around the perimeter. So if you started the project with me 2 weeks ago and you want to stay on the the pin cushion path, that's how I would finish it off. But in the process of being on the road, I finished doing all my decorative stitching on my little panel, and I still had quite a few days away from my craft room, so it's morphed into a new project. So I apologise for those who were doing a pin cushion. I'm just bringing it up to the camera to show you some of the little stitches I placed around. It's very random. Try to drag the colour of red through the piece, as you can see by the top side and the bottom side of the strawberry. I took with me a little bit of silk ribbon and stitched the little flowers, and then some green variegated cottons were used to highlight the leaves of the strawberries, and of course the little leaves that appear on top of the strawberries. They were just a little lazy daisy stitch. That piece of fabric plus some of the other printed pieces came from a panel. Oh, it's not a panel, it's a piece of fabric I picked up at the Howard Drapery when I took the Hervey Bay girls on a little bit of a road trip. Timeless treasures, the fruit pattern. So if you did want that, you could reach out to Vicky, the owner of Howard Drapery, and she would be able to send you a piece of this fabric. So I'm just going to make a note on the side of things I mentioned to put in the description. So Howard Drapery. What I will also do is put in the description the video of Newcastle, where I went to numerous retail outlets and picked up a selection of fabrics. So they were all themed strawberry, and there was some stripes. So having this project, I guess, in my mind, I shopped for elements that would suit. So they're sitting to one side. I also remembered that when I was in Newcastle Beck's store, Sobe, a year ago, I picked up this little gingham pack, and there is a little gingham in there that might work as well. So I grabbed that back out. Beck has a lovely range of ginghams, so check out Beck's website too if you wanted to add some little ginghams. One of the girls said to me, fabrics that have stripes and dots and checks on them aren't classed as fabrics, they're classed as notions. So there's no limit to how many notions you can have in your collection. That was her justification. Let me write Beck's name down on my list so I can link it below. Okay, so where am I at? As I said, I wanted to make this into a pouch. Now the pouch is inspired by Judy. Judy, commonly known as Juju, mum of Sarah and Rachel. She gifted the girls a pouch that did not have a closure. I think it was around Christmas. So the girls have often spoke about this Juju pouch. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, how simple is that? Don't have to worry about a zip or fastenings and things like that. So I thought, perfect little project to travel with me and stitch. So the thing that caught my eye about Judy's pouch is at the very top edge, she had a stripy ticking fabric, so just stripes. So that's sort of what's been resonating. I then go to the Howard Drapery months and months later, find that beautiful strawberry fabric, and that was the end of that. It just seemed like it was going to come together. Before I hopped on the road with all of these retreats, I also found some strawberry crocheting YouTube videos. I did look at patterns, and there are heaps on Etsy that make little strawberry charms, but I'm not a real pattern reader. I probably don't crochet enough to really get into the rhythm of reading a pattern. I tend to like to watch someone demonstrate it and then monkey see, monkey do. So while I was waiting to be driven to the airport and everything was packed up in my room, I started crocheting some of these. Now this little pattern, let me just show you that, because I plan to use this as a closure, so it'll all make sense in a moment. Viv's Crochets. So there's her site, I'll link her below. And then her pattern is, let me just grab a screenshot of what I found, is that. So Viv makes it really long, the green connecting chain. So that's like single chain stitch. And then her two little strawberries. There's no stuffing in these strawberries, just with the making of them and the leftover threads when the green meets the red. All of those leftover ends are poked down into the strawberries, so it inadvertently gives you, you know, a stuffed strawberry. I might make him again if I find that he's too bulky, because this was a 4-ply yarn. Maybe I need to go down in yarn size to maybe a sock yarn and have another go, but we'll see. I do like his chunkiness, so I've got to work out how I'm going to work this into the project. So that's sitting there. But before we get too deep into the construction of this, back to basics. For all the newbies, this width of my pouch is 30 centimetres or 12 inches, just about. And the height is, oh, let's say 30 centimetres. It's probably 29 centimetres. So it sort of is square by 11 inches. So 12 by 11. Now, just make note that this piece is going to be folded down because I want a bulky top edge to my pouch. I just find whenever I make something that's got that little bit of bulk on the edge, it stands better, it feels better, just feels a little stronger. It's like reinforcing a pocket edge just by having that little bit extra fabric. I recently made at Easter a rabbit bowl. Let me grab it and I'll show you where this idea come from. A bunny bowl. So I've got this bunny bowl that I did at Easter to hold all of my neutral threads. And the bowl was a little bit taller, but in the end I folded down this edge. It became bulkier, and I just found it gave the top of my bowl a little bit of structure. And then that also gave a bit of strength for my bunny to sit inside. Now that bunny, from memory, if you guys haven't seen my channel, you'll remember it is the bunny that Rachel sells on her website from Roxy Creations. It's a toy bunny that I adapted to make a little pin cushion in here. So it's could be a project bowl as well. So, but at the moment, bunny holds neutral threads that I pick up around thrift stores. And it's just out, you know, out there, sitting in as decoration in my room. That's a recent Suffolk puff that I was given, and it just suits it beautifully. So I just pinned it there, and I'll whip around and stitch that on. Oh, I'm getting so sidetracked. Anyway, you might decide to make a bowl of strawberries. Oh, there's so many possibilities. So that's why there's this extra length. That extra length equates to, in inches, about 2.5 inches. So I'm thinking that will sit down nicely. Now, because I was on the road, I ended up just whip stitching this scrap to there and then this scrap to there, just out of some scrap batting. I've got heaps of it with me all the time because of, you know, the times I was making quilts. So I'm slowly getting to the bottom of it, which is really good. I was chatting to the girls about the whole blanket thing. Wool blankets being used as bases to stitch into. I have a small collection of pieces. I haven't gone down the path of purchasing wool blankets. I think there's a couple at the family farm, so it's not like they're not around, but I've picked up the odd pretty colour. But what I have noticed just touching it is I get a little bit agitated by it, and I sort of didn't think much of it until I was chatting to some girls, and I remembered that wool blankets as a kid made me very itchy. And even wool seat covers in a car we once had. I think it was a rental car, and they had seat covers. They were made of wool, and I sat on them for a week, and they drove me bananas. So I think the whole wool blanket thing, I'm probably not going to use a lot of. I'm going to stay in the batting, quilt batting, bamboo, cotton. Even the wool batting doesn't seem to bother me. So, yeah, if you're wondering why I'm always using this, that's why. Not only are they just scraps, the wool blanket sort of agitates me a bit. So the thought of having that in my hands to stitch into is probably not as comfortable as one would want. All right, off the track again. Oh, my goodness sakes. So here's my pouch. Now, when I was down in Newcastle at Beck's store doing the retreat, there was lots of samples of vintage textiles and bits and bobs that we could purchase. And I came across this bark cloth. Now, lots of people talk about bark cloth. I did not for the life of me know what bark cloth was, but now that I have a piece in my hand, childhood memories of tablecloths at Nana's. So I now know what it's all about. Is it the best fabric to stitch into? Oh, I don't know. Maybe my needle was a little blunt, not a sharp one. Probably would have been better. But, yeah, it's not too bad. It seems to be a fairly densely woven fabric that they've printed on top of. So they get the texture, but the image is printed, because I noticed somewhere there was a thread laying down. Where is it? Now for the life of here. See this little thread? So when they've manufactured that fabric, a little thread must have got caught. So it's laid down, then the image has been printed on, I'm guessing via screen printing, and that little thread now, years later through laundering, has sort of popped up. And you can see the print of the white fabric underneath where that little thread would have laid. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I feel like I know all about bark cloth now. So that's my piece, and I just thought it was just beautiful with this. So I'm going to have a plain back of the bark cloth, and on the front will be my collage slow stitch piece. While I was there, I thread painted the flowers. Now, I didn't change colours, except I did bring in this purple. I felt that the three colours I could see in the image, let me bring it up for those of you who are new to thread painting. Thread painting's where we have a beautiful piece of fabric that inspires us to stitch into it, mimicking the flowers that are already printed there, or maybe using just the shapes and doing our own thing. So it's all about painting in thread your flowers. I always look for flowers that have some interesting detail and flowers that I can easily see colour. So I can see in the centre there's a dark pink, a medium pink and a light pink. So how easy is that? 3 pinks and away you go. As I stitch this, I found that because I didn't have my threads with me, I only had this, which is a DMC pearl cotton. I've got a stranded thread. We will get stitching for those of you who are thinking, gee, we're not learning much here. And I had this with me, which has got all tangled. And see how it's a tangerine colour? And this is more of a raspberry red colour. So I knew I was heading for trouble because they're not exactly tonal, which is what the artist has done here. But I thought, you know, what you got is what you use. So I started stitching all of the dark spots with the DMC and all of the next colour with this guy. Now, if I remember rightly, this is a Wonderfill thread, EZ2113. So it's not orange, but gee, it's not close. not far from being orange. It sort of looks orange. It's a pinky orange. So what that did is, now what do I use for my light fabric? My light coloured thread, the third tone to my flowers. So I was looking through Lynn's selection of threads, because she was sitting opposite me at the dining table every evening, every morning, stitching. And I tended towards this purpley variegated thread. And I thought that's just going to break up the blob of pink and orange that I was creating. So that's how I sort of went a little bit different from the artist. So then, once again, what else will I stitch? Because that was finished. I started working these leaves with a variegated green. I don't think I'll stitch the black because I like the black to sort of break it up. I do need to find some more of that green. I'd like to stitch a few more of those little sprays in just to add a little bit more stitch. So also on this side, I want to lay down some pieces of lace. So that's also on my list to do. I'm just looking around for my lace. Okay. Look at this really cool basket I recently acquired at a craft show. I did not make it. It's the corded fabric twisted twine sewn on the sewing machine. Look at the bottom. Oh my goodness. And then she's made a handle. There's a little bit of stiffening in there, and then added some little flowers. I've seen those flowers around for sale in the $2 shops. And she's just embellished it. Oh, I just think it's gorgeous. Like, who has the time to make that when you can just pick it up at a local craft market? So the plan is to get myself a little piece of lace and just add some detail to my piece. I'm yet to have a good rummage. Is it the right piece of lace? Not sure. So that's the plan for the back of my pouch. So we'll leave that for a moment. And once again, it too has the extra bit on top to be the binding. All right, so what I want to do next, let's have a look at the binding. In those videos I referred to, going to Newcastle, I referred to black and white binding was my preference. So I've just grabbed my ticking collection, and I just want to see, I'm sure I had some black and white binding. I used that in the vase on the still life. So let's just have a little look. Oh, I do like that. Don't ask me where I got all these from. I've been collecting since probably early COVID 2020, because I was using ticking as little tags on paper things like journals, and there's another one that might work. Journals and, you know, tabs to turn pages, tabs on top of tabs. Tags is the word. So often I pick them up on vendors who sell secondhand fabrics. I've picked them up in fabric stores. Oh, I don't mind that one either. I just think the black is going to give a spot, I might randomly check that one, for the eye to settle when I look at this pouch, because the pouch is so busy. These are my latest two, so I did good. I don't have any of those types of colours, so that's not a bad effort. So let's grab those few and audition a couple, because remember, it has to suit two sides. Well, it could be clashy, I guess. You don't have to be matchy-matchy. No, that's a definite no. Just too heavy. This is quite a fresh piece, so I'm thinking it needs to be... This is a piece of fabric. I think it was a tea towel. It's got a seam there. I think this was a tea towel. I found the fabric in my mother's sewing cupboard. I don't mind that. It's a little bit soft, I think. So this one here has got a bit of a blue tone. It's nice and thick. I don't mind you. Oh, gee, that's strobing on the eyes. Like, it's okay. I think it needs to be punchier. I think I can eliminate that. It's too soft. Let's have a look at these guys. Well, like you, I think this is sort of what I had in my mind. And remember, there's only a little bit. Oh, I don't even mind the back of it. Oh, I like the back. I think this might be the fabric. Oh, it's a bit washed out. Flip it. Let's have a little look. Look, this is all a personal taste. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I don't like that, that's fine. It's probably not your thing. Yeah, I like that. That's the one. That reminds me of the Juju pouch. I have to go and find that video and have a little look again. Yeah, that's the one, I believe. So we can get rid of that bluey one. This one is one I used for a vase. Let's just check. It's got a more of a cream base. Oh, I don't mind that either. I guess it's a bit warmer. Gosh, decisions. Decisions. I don't know. I like that one, I think. This one I feel is safe. This one I feel is a little bit random. Let's bring this green in. Yeah, no, I don't like that one. It sort of washes out with that green. Isn't that interesting? It's going to need to be this. It needs to be bold. It's going to pick up that black. It works with this because it's bold. All right, there's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. So let's put that little piece away for a rainy day. All right, so we've got our ticking. That's good. We've got our back completed bar, some lacy bits. So let's put that to one side. I do need to select a fabric for inside. My little pile of fabrics I used before I left to create this, we won't pick from there because I'm going to need them to work over here. So it looks like there was a plan on day one. So let's have a little look through these. This spot was jumping out at me as a possibility. So what I would do as part of my homework is create a lining. Now you could be really tricky and stitch together your lining separately and then drop it down into your pouch. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a little bit more carefree, and I'm just going to cut a piece of fabric that suits the back. Now remember that goes down, doesn't it? So we don't need it that big. If that's down with black fabric, where's my pins? And that black fabric will come from the front and over. I only need my lining to come up to that rim. Just bear with me as I talk this through, the logic of it all. Now, if I was on the sewing machine doing a zipper, I'd probably do a proper lining and then stitch it all together, turn everything inside out, yada, yada, yada. But no, we're going to be more freehand. So I'm going to bring the lining, the spots, gee, that's hard on the eyes, up past that edge. So when the ticking is applied, it'll come down over it, so it'll, you know, tuck in behind. So let's cut ourselves off that. And of course my side seams are just going to be over-stitched together. Nothing fancy. We're going to keep it as rustic as we can. It's not even straight, but that's okay. Crooked is good. A piece of fabric. We'll make it a fraction bigger because we can always trim it back. There we got spots we can follow. There to be semi-straight. So that's the lining. Now, if you're familiar with my Just Because quilt, where I pieced pieces onto batting And then on the back, I flipped it over and I did it again with the flower sacks. I'm going to do the same here. So that's going to give me the chance to canvas stitch all of this. You might think, gee, that's a waste to be inside the bag. Nah, why not? Something to do. It's a rainy day. So I'm going to just put a few little pins. That'll be my homework. Is I can canvas stitch that just with some pearl cotton. And the trick to it is you don't want your stitches to come through this side. It won't be too bad because there's a lot of fabric here. So if this was just a piece of fabric, you'd have to be very careful. But being this is layered and so dense, I should be able to bring my needle through and just peek through this wadding and hide in behind everything here. So you shouldn't see the two stitches. So let's assume that that's done. We can now cut our piece of black fabric. And we will go a little bit past that there. I can do some stitching. I might even add a little bit of lace. Being that there's lines, that's very forgiving. Let's flip it over. Actually, let's pin it. It's bodgy, isn't it? But that's great. I sometimes think we overthink these things. Just run with it, guys. Stitch on the fly. It's exhilarating. Oh, I've got a laundry tag there on my pincushion that never found a home. I thought, oh, if I popped it on the pincushion, it might find a home. Let's add it to our piece. It's a good spot for it, so it's right. Let's put it there. For no reason, just because I like it. Ow. Okay. Where were we? Another pin. Let's flip this over. And we're going to bring that fabric down as part of our top. Gosh, already half an hour's gone by. But that's all good. Got a few little elements I want to make for my front of my bag. So it's not just the same, you know, stitching. Does that look even? It's pretty close. So what I'll do is I will actually remove this piece of ticking that I've just cut and sort of pin. And I'll cut a second one. That way it'll be marginally similar. Okay, so that will stitch down onto there and there. So that's the top of the piece. So let's pinch this little guy off for now. Where's my pincushion gone? Because we do have a bit of work to do before sort of this construction. So that's my template. Look how wonky that is. I'll need another one of those so that when I come to the back, I've got a second one cut. That folds down, that goes there and over. Okay, so that's the second edge on my little bag, my pouch. So the fabric here, got a couple choices. We could do the spot again, or we pick a second fabric. Let's be luxurious. Second fabric. Don't want to use all my spot on one project. So I'll leave that with that. I need to cut a second. There's my spot. Let's fold that up. Making a mess. Let's try and be semi-organised. All right. Let's pick something that suits. So that one's organised. We need a piece here. So I've got a little strawberry piece. I don't mind that, if that doesn't reinforce strawberries. I did pick up this spot but in my head it was a low volume print for a future project when I'm trying to break up heavy saturated printed fabrics with a little bit of space for the eye. So I'm thinking not this one. Let's put the stripe into play as well. Like, I don't mind it. No, I'm thinking I might use that on my Volume 8 Roxy Journal of Stitchery project, the gathered things. And I think I might tea dye it. I'm very inspired by Sherry Iris and the way she puts fabrics together. And she often uses a little spot, once again, to rest the eye and just break it up. And I've seen that over in the quilting world as well when doing those really heavily quilted quilt patterns. A lot of low volumes are popping up. So I'm going to save that. I did pick up this fabric in Newcastle. Now, I'm not 100% sure where all these fabrics come from now, hence why the video of my Newcastle shopping will show you. Oh, I do like that. It's sort of, I'm just thinking, no. I think this was from Zigzag Sewing. These were definitely Beck, and this was a gift. Those have cherries. Cherries and apples. That's another day. Look, I don't mind that. Oh gosh, I can't decide. Go ahead, fudgy. Look, I'm just going to leave those out because I love them, but I'm not convinced yet because I do want to make a few elements for the front of my sack. So let's not make a decision on that. Let's just skip this. But I know it's not going to be spot. I think I'd feel quite dizzy going into the pouch. Well, I do have that. That's wrong colour. What about a neutral? No. Okay, that eliminates that. So I'm going to put these aside in my collaging pile. All right, so other than some lacy bits on here and doing a bit of stitching, I don't need the back, and I just need to cut the piece of black for that and finish the stitching. So we'll just pop that to one side. Now this piece, we need to finish this. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm actually going to remove that because I'm about to put a heap of pins and that's just going to get in my way. So that's homework. I think there'll be a part 2 because what I can do is move the project along depending on what we create here. Let's undo that because that's a after the fact turn down top. I'll pop back with, I guess, putting it all together. So let's see how we go because I've got a few ideas for here. Now, originally I started out making a pincushion, which I've already explained to you, and I really like the idea of when I sit and stitch at a kitchen table, traveling or on the couch, you need somewhere to put your pins. And when you're traveling, to pack more pin cushiony things is just more stuff to carry. So it dawned on me looking at my Jenifer Cloustons caddy piece, which I'd added a pin cushion to. Let me go grab that. I better show you that. Hang on, hold the horses. All right. I better link Jenifer's channel below as well. So if you decide you want to make one of these, I definitely will be making another one. I love this concept. It is just the most handiest thing I've made. Let me just write down Jenifer Cloustons. So Jenifer has a channel. She often shows her little caddy and she has the pattern. So you can reach out to Jenifer via a website and download the pattern. This is the original size and you get the pattern to make a little drawstring. There's zips. For those of you who've been with me for a while, you'll be like, yep, I've probably even made it myself. I added this. Now this is a little bit of the walnut shell. Walnut shell is exactly what it says, crushed walnuts that makes this crumble that they say is really good for your needles. It keeps them sharp. So I've found it at various craft stores. I know Howard Drapery have it. You'll see a link to them below. If you're overseas and you can't get your hands on it through your local craft outlets, try the pet stores, because apparently the reptile enclosures use this as part of the substrate because it holds warmth for the lizards. So they'd be worth checking out too. You might end up having to buy a fairly big bag of it through those guys, but this is 12 ounces, and I guess you'll be making pincushions for a while. So my theory is to add something like this to my piece, because when I travel, that may be a project. Then I pack this little guy, which is a slightly bigger version of Jenifer's pattern. I was actually on the road and I didn't have access to the pattern. So from memory, I cut a piece of hemp, created some little stitchery elements. And then when I got home, I was like, oh, gee, that's so much bigger than Jenifer's pattern. But that's okay because I can put a slightly bigger project in it. Same thing, Jenifer's little clever zips are here. On the zipper pull, I'm starting to build a collection of threaders, and this little stalk cuts the threads. I need to get a few more just to have them here ready to add to zippers. And now I've got dingle dangles that have been given to me being added to the zipper pulls. And there's 2 zips, so you've got charm opportunities. The little drawstring sack is Jenifer's pattern. This was a kit I bought when I was at the Ballarat retreat, and it was 3 weeks in a row that I was traveling doing my retreat at the time. So I made this from a kit that I picked up at Gail's Patchwork Emporium. It's no longer available, guys, and to be honest, it was just how to make the bag, and they gave you ideas of stitches, and then I created what I wanted. Pussycat, and there's a little bee printed on there that I'm yet to embellish. This was a gift. It becomes a zipper pull charm from Dawn, and I added a little needle book, just a quick little needle book. So what I've noticed is having a needle book and a little pin cushion is not a bad idea on your thing you're putting your project in, hence this project. So I've gone ahead this morning and stitched with some heavy duty fabric. This is like a calico canvasy thing. It'd be good for covering a mattress. I just had a scrap of it. So I've cut myself a rectangle. There's the fold. I've got my sewing machine out, which turns out to be very ill, and barely stitched it. The needle is hitting the foot at times, so she needs to go into the doctor to be checked out. So I need to reinforce that because the bodgy stitching, but it gives you the idea. This end's open there, so I plan to pour a little bit of that in and then stitch it closed. So let's assume that that's happened. We won't make a mess here because I will make a mess. Fudgy can see Dad through the door and wants to go and see him. Let me pause and let Fudgy get to Dad. Okay, we're back. Fudgy's happy. He's gone through the door and he's out to visit Dad. So where was I? Let's assume that's stuffed, sealed, and that is going to sit at the bottom of my pouch. So it's just a bump that I can put some pins and my needles into. Here, I want to put a little needle book. So you can see I've got the pouch to hold the project. I've got somewhere to stick my needles, and I've also got my little needle book. Now, at my retreat, to get the girls' fingers working, they made their name badge, this little house. Fudgy Bee, he's back. What a pleasure. I made this little house, and that was their name badge for the week. And then out of the scraps, we started talking about how we could make ourselves a little needle book. So this concept is going here. So what I thought we'd do is I'm going to make a little house, and I'm going to put it onto a piece of the wadding. I like that size, so let's just cut that. And that will be my little needle book. Meow meow. Now he's back. So he went and said hello to Dad, and now he's come straight back into the room. So I will need just a selection of little scraps. Meow. At least 2 if you are in a car and say you're doing some slow stitch or some English paper piecing, you could have your bits and pieces in your pouch, and then you've got your needle also secured on your pouch, and then when you jump out of the car to grab snacks and you're too quick like me, like I shoot out the car to get snacks, you can just poke your pins and needles into here, or as you're stitching and you're gathering pins, you can just pop them into here because you might need to pick them up a second later. So that's why I think the needle pin cushion is a good idea. So there's our little needle book, just a piece of this wadding. You can use blanket if you've got blanket. I've been given a few little needle books made of blanket over the last 2 years. I should go through that little stash. Maybe there was one that suits, but it doesn't matter. I want to do a house. I want to make a house. All right, so there's my little needle book. So I need some fabrics to carry on around the back. I need to get my plain fabrics. Here's one, this was a piece of fabric given to us by Linda, who owns Dewdrop Inn. Very exciting. She has a lease and she's starting to rebuild her store in Harvey Bay. Oh, tragedy when the floods came so quickly and devastated so many houses and businesses at the beginning of the year. But Linda has worked tirelessly to get herself and her family business back up and running. You know, that would be good there, on there, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll do that. That's a nice piece of fabric. Do I get a bigger piece? Use what you've cut, Corrine. Don't go and chop in again. Looks like I'm going to use that. Pins. So I'm now just going to collage fabrics on all elements. Here, here, and the pin holder. Neutral. I think I still want a bit of this. Such a pretty fabric. Let's just cut a smaller piece off. I'll just merge it together. Let's assume that's there. So that'll make it feel a little cohesive. Let's cut that because the black ticking will be peeking down. I like that. This fabric here has potential. I probably don't need that to go as far, do I? Look, what we could do is save a little bit of that fabric, because if that's on there, let's be cheeky. Or do I leave it? Because it'll give structure, won't it? Am I being cheeky and going to snip that off and save it? Because that's stitched down. But I need it to be strong. And sometimes having fabric there just makes things a bit strong. Oh, look, I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I'll leave it, like, for the sake of a snippety bit. So, yeah, I think so. That will go under there. Sneak up a bit. There was a scrap of a strawberry I noticed when I sat down from when we were cutting out the other day. There's a scrap here. That came off of our open daily. That's pretty cool. Don't want to lose that in the, maybe that could be the start of something on there. So with this element, I might go a little bit past. So when I stitch it down, this will merge into whatever's in the background here. Yeah. So it's just a bump, just a little bump in the piece. I might pin that onto there. I'll need to stuff it and then just stitch it on. So that piece I think will sit well there, and then I've just got this little red piece which is there. Maybe that can go. It's a very fine fabric actually. That's probably not a good idea because it's so fine, lots of pins, it's going to get destroyed. So maybe not too close, leave it. Let's have a look at this little piece of gingham or a little check. It's there. Maybe that can come out there. I'll most likely square it up because everything's got a bit of a square look about it on the project. So that can sit maybe there. So just pinning at the moment, just, you know, getting some bits down. This fabric I used over here, so maybe, oh, that might make a good little house. A wonky roof house. That'd be weird, a wonky roof house. I don't think so. Let's rough you up. Little house, that's the start of something. Let's pin you on. Okay, I feel like this is too matchy-matchy. Maybe we pop you down here to help build up that corner. Can you guys see what I'm doing? So with that went there, that went there. So we're sort of pretending that the little pin cushion is not there now, it's just a bump. And we're just layering down fabrics to merge it into the background of the pouch. A little bit of this, it's over here. Let's bring you through there. Bring you down and down. So just pinning. A door for the house. Just picked up this little piece. Let's just cut ourselves a little door. It's a bit wonky, but that's all good. One little door. More pins. I did leave a container of pins here on the bench. No, we can't find them. Let's assume that that's pinned. So, got a couple more here. Now, the other thing we've got to work out is the strawberries. I want to use them as my fastening. So what I could do is a button, and the strawberries are stitched maybe behind the needle book, right? And then they come across and wrap around a button, and that's the closure for that. I think that's how I go. I did grab this for button inspiration. I picked this up at the Ob store. Someone crocheted a necklace using lots of red buttons. I got it for 50 cents, and I thought that was a bargain. So that's that idea. So I think that'll work. I think that'll work. So there's my button. The strawberries will be stitched when I attach the needle book, maybe a little higher. So there's the one straw hanging there. And then this can come across and twizzle around. That should work. This is real engineering at its finest, isn't it? If I find that that's too bulky and I stitch another one, possibly. But I think that'll work. So I'm going to take that button off of there. And that button will be attached to there with the strawberry as the closure. So then I can untwizzle that strawberry and open the little needle book. So that's good. Do I need a window? Maybe. What could we use as a window? Have I got anything in here? Not really. No, I'll have to find something for the window. All right, so that's where I'm at. I think that's a good start. I'll keep looking for little pieces of fabric to pop around. I sort of had a couple other ideas. This little piece needs a home as well, but is too soft to be on the actual pin cushion part. Probably would have made a great little window. I'll probably find some lace. This top edge here is still showing wadding. I need more scraps. Here's another little bit. This is a good red. What I might do is find some little scraps that can go over that edge, like so. Trim it off, and that'll then be the start of something on the inside. Well, I like that. Oh, there's the inside. I don't want to cover. Yeah, there's the inside. That'll do. And that edge might just make it over. Oh, wouldn't that be just too clever? If that turned over and gave us a little edge. It will. We will make it happen. I'm happy if there's a little even bit of this batting showing, like it doesn't have to be 100% covered. It's going to give it quite a nice rustic look if there's a little bit. That's a piece of very old French fabric, I think, that come out of a pack that I picked up a year ago around Christmas, not a year, around Christmas when I was in Sydney, and I went to, what was that little shop? Cruel Goblin, I think it is. I should actually go through their fabric packs because they had some lovely little colours in this tone and, you know, old French fabric. So there's the start of my pin cushion. Inside the pin cushion, I had just a little flap of felt that I just stitched down to hold a few pins, which I'll do the same. I'll see what I can find. Put a little bit of felt here, or maybe here. Let's pretend that that's the felt. Maybe a piece that just sits there, and that will hold my pins. I could probably even use that, you know. What's that like to pin in? That's pretty good. Let's just use that. I've got enough stuff here to make something out of something. So that'll hold my pins. We could do with a little pocket in case there's a thread that I want to take. So what could we use? I need more inspiration here. I've got limited colour palette, so I need to go and find some more bits and bobs. What about the green? What about that for the pocket? Yes, now we're cooking. We can have a pop of the green. Oh, I like that. Where's the halfway point? So let's make a pocket out of that. And to reinforce the top of it, we'll just maybe fold that in half. Only needs to be a little pocket. And we'll stitch that onto there. All right, pins have become desperate now. Any in my little pin cushion here? Yes, there is. There's heaps. There's heaps. Got heaps. So there's my pocket. I'll be able to do a little bit of stitching on that floral, which will tie in. Oh, what a plan. That'll tie into the other side of the sack. Like anyone would think this has been planned. So there's the inside of my needle book. There's the outside. Let's have a look at the strawberry fabric. Is there something else we could add? Strawberry field. Look at that. Can we get that out? It's a bit of a muddy print. Maybe I could stitch it so that it, let's just take it out. Maybe I could stitch it so that it's a little bit more pronounced. Let's have a look. It could go across the bottom there. Could sneak it in over that. Yeah, I don't mind that. And if I stitch that with maybe white thread, where's some white thread? Will it work? Yeah, I think it will. It just needs highlighting a little. And then that little element could be attached there. Not sure. I'll put it to one side, maybe. What else is on this fabric? Everything's quite big. Like, I love that. Maybe I could get some more strawberry flowers involved. Let's have a look. Can we get to those flowers? Let's just nibble a piece. Don't want to cut that strawberry. Let's scoot down here. Scoot across here. And then let's get you out. So pretty. Has an opportunity to be stitched and added. Let's have a little look. So do the same thing. We stitch it with the ribbon. And maybe we add it as an element in here somewhere. Yeah, I like that idea. A little bit more slow stitching. So another pin. We'll just pop you there. So we're starting to, I guess, fill the background. So that should all still fit. Even if I trim down my little piece, just a fraction. I've got plenty I can nibble off there. Okay, so there we are. I feel like I need a little bit more neutral fabric. Where's my neutral fabric? of French fabric. That'd have to be something cool in there. That's pretty. Does that suit? It does. Let's put a little piece of this on. I might use you up there. Just a little peek through. I like how it picks up the blue. There's a fine blue stripe. Let's put you there. You will be there. We'll just make that out. There's another little element for our background of collaging. It's a bit tricky when you continue a project. You sort of don't want it to look like it was a continuation of a project. You want it to feel like, you know, it's all one. So far, so good. Someone's at the door. What else have we got in here? This fabric's not a bad one. That would work. Maybe, see, I like that tone. Where's the back? Let's see. Look, that works. All right, so let's slide a piece of you. If we can pick that little edge up. Maybe down a bit, and our little strawberry flower. So we've just about got the background sorted. How far over do we need to go? I'm going to go to there. Am I? Yeah. This stripe will shine through underneath this very fine fabric. So if I try and pull that fine fabric on top, it will also be muddied by this strong piece of fabric underneath. So I'm just going to make it work. You'll see what I mean in a moment. See, this is so delicate. I need it to make it to there. Just peek over there, under there, like that. And then that can rest in there. That'll come over a little bit. I'll trim that down so that it doesn't hide my little bit of feather stitch. That can sit there. Pin cushion is just below. Yeah, I like that. So the only spots I've got left is the other side of this pin cushion and underneath. Let's see what we can find. Where's my neutrals? No, keep looking. There'll be something here in this. That's a good pinky strawberry fabric. Oh, I don't mind that. Take you off. Maybe he could be a window. If that was cut down to size. It's a little bit matchy-matchy, but we'll pin him there for now. Maybe with some, I know what I'll use. So I'll get some black thread and I'll outline the house. Oh, have you seen Dawn's little kooky chooks? Oh, crazy little chickeny bird looking things that she's added to the box that she did in my retreat. And they're so effective. And I think what catches your eye is the black thread to outline it. So I think I'll apply Dawn's technique there. Where's my pen and paper? I better attach Dawn's video so you can see what I'm talking about. It's the little kooky birds. I'm thinking a piece of this would be a bit special. Do I just use the stripe? do so, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that for texture. Oh, that's a bit special. I stitch that down. Is it too dark? I think it is. I just looked up at the TV. It's too dark. Nope. Save that for another day. It's got very moody dark. Here's a little gingham. What about you? See, there's another piece of it. Why has it got a layer? See, that looks okay. That works. But that doesn't. Even there, when I look at the camera, that door looks very dark. How would I get that apart? Oh, it's a seam. Is it? Yeah. Oh, it's just a seam. Anyway, stop fiddling. This seems a little better, but it is a very big profile. No, don't like that either. Oh, I don't know. Something will turn up. What's that? What's that? Very dark. Ugh. What about that? That's a good little... Very dark. Very dark. That's probably not the right colour palette to be dipping into. Anything deeper? What about a bit of that? No, it's bringing orange in. Isn't colour amazing? All right, put it away. It's the wrong colour palette. I'll find something. I still have my Strawberry Fields idea. Maybe I persist with that. Look, I'm just going to pin it there and I'll make a decision. I'll put my needle in there. I've definitely run out of pins. No, I won't, because then I'll lose the needle. Here's some more pins. I'll have a think of this Strawberry Field. And if I can make that more pronounced, maybe that sits there. And then all I need is a little bit of fabric to poke in there, a little bit under here, and probably a bit through here so that that pin cushion is, you know, floating in there like that. The pin cushion will get stitched down. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about too when I sat down, I grabbed out my little crocheted flowers and I thought maybe there was one in here that could be added. So that was another idea, is adding one of those little guys and creating maybe a little cluster of flowers in here. But I would need to crochet more because I've only got colours that don't really match. But that sort of reminded me of the flower that the strawberry has. I might pin that there and have a little think about that. There's heaps of crocheted flower videos out there, so if you wanted to make yourself some, I'll link this video as well. Crocheted. I did find a clever pattern. Just can't remember who now. Crocheted flowers. Writing that down. And I went and put little beads on the edge of it to give it a bit of interest. So I don't mind that. It's creating quite a feature here, which is rather sweet. And if I can maybe find a better pink that suits, get my Strawberry Field word there. I've got a little bulgy pin cushion happening in there for all of the pins. My needle book. Maybe I recrochet these guys into a finer version, and that then becomes, so I've got this little dimensional raised, look at that, chunky, it's lovely. Then it gets a little bit flatter here, which I do like. It's sort of a bit of a feature. And then let's, oh, this was another thing. Now this was given to me by Robin. This is an origami folded flower out of, butterfly out of fabrics, which I thought was a lovely element that could potentially also go on my pouch. It's not quite the right colours. See that blue? But I do like it. I'm going to pin him, think about him. Maybe I'll make another one. I will link the videos that remind me of this as well. So that's that butterfly made in an origami. That's that paper folding, Japanese paper folding. But I'll pin you there. Something to think about. A lovely memory. I think I will use it. Like, to me, it's not too jarring. It's this little bit of blue. Maybe I can put a little bit of fabric there that is more, see that there? It's just not quite that blue. I know what we'll do. We will find a tiny piece of crocheted something something. Here, where's my basket? Every colour works, except that blue. What if we find a tiny little flower of something and I stitch it in there, and it will then blend more with the piece. That saves me making one. See, these little flowers, they're great for stitching on the house, makes a garden. Oh, the knots, be gentle, girl. You might need to tea dye it because just pin that there. Could do with a picket fence. I think I will drop these in a bit of tea dye just to take the white out because everything's a little bit, that could be a little roof trim. Let's pin that there. Oh my goodness, I've got hours of work here. I think you guys get the general gist anyway. This here might, yeah, that just takes the blue back and it gives the butterfly a little texture. So if I can stitch into there that little piece just with some little invisible stitches, tuck that lace into there, tuck that under, it'll just look like a textured little piece of the butterfly wing, and I believe it will match better. It'll look more cohesive. Let's pin it. So we're going to put the butterfly there with a slight modification. We've got potential of adding some crocheted flowers to build a garden, and this little guy can be stitched and added. Maybe I do it upside down. No, stick with the plan. That little guy will sit just there. There's our bump. It'll look like a raised embankment for the house to sit on, actually, when that's rounded. Oh, I like that. Strawberry fields. We are literally creating a strawberry paddock. Oh my goodness. All right, I think we got a plan, guys. I think we have a plan. Need to consider that and that. Maybe I can find a red in this weight to create the little closure. Oh, I love it. What a fun piece. And everything I need for a project is swinging on the front. Awesome. There's my button. Mustn't lose that. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye. The only thing I haven't decided yet is the fabric that's going on the inside. But I'll come back. We'll make that decision another day because I still have this fabric. It's so pretty. Like, that's a whole nother project, to be ashamed to have that inside the pouch, where that could be the start of something else. Maybe I just keep it simple. And that was my second choice. I'm going to do that, guys. So when I look in the pouch, I'll have the spots and I will have a piece of strawberry fabric. So I can cut, and I cut it now. Ooh, is it deep enough? Oh, I'd have to patch it, which we can do. Look, I'm a little bit short. We can do that. We'll join. Oh, it's so close. You know what I'll do is I'll extend. Yeah, I'm going to extend because I haven't cut the second strip of black stripe. Is there an up and a down? I'm going to extend the black stripe down into the pouch to hide the fact, let's assume up the right way, that can go on the back of that one. This will be this one. Oh, it's so close. I will be able to make that work. Oh, it's so close. If I just make sure I start from this side, it'll work. It will work. Pin it. I'll just make sure that this is maybe a 1/4 of an inch bigger. It'll catch that top edge. No one will ever know that I'm a little bit short. And then when it comes around to the front, if that's just a fraction bigger, it'll meet up with the side seam of this guy. So that's how we'll do it. Awesome. That will work. That's excess to requirement. If you're wondering why that's sitting there, that's just the selvage hanging out. Trim that away. Might be able to use that on the front somewhere. I like those furry little edges. All right. So we've got our inside of our pouch sorted. That will go on there. That will eventually have some black. Oh, I could do it higher and lower. Oh, look at that. Anyway, line up all your side seams. That will go down to there. You will be doing the same there. I could do that lower. Couldn't I? And I could even do a different fabric there. But we won't. Look at the possibilities, like, seriously. That will have a piece that will come in there, like that. Let's pretend that that's now cut. And there's the top of our little pouch. And there's our needle book. He could actually go higher. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We might actually creep the needle book up higher so it breaks the line of the straightness. Then that could come up higher. Yeah, that'll all come down to the final positioning of everything. Let's just assume that that's all cut away. That's all hidden. So inside we will have the spot. Oh, let's just cut it. Let's cut it. Let's cut it. Let's cut it. I could technically stop the video and leave you in peace, but I'm going to cut that. Add a little extra because it can't hurt. just by eye. Look, if you want to measure, go your hardest. I find if I measure too much, like if I'd gone back 2 years, I would be measuring. But I find that when I don't measure, my pieces have more of a free feel about them. They're not as structured, which I really do enjoy the wonkiness, I guess. So now that that's folded, gosh, anyone learning to do all this is probably thinking, where is she going now with this? Trust me, hang in there. So now I have 2. Can get rid of that. I just saw Gaz go out to his man cave, and being a rainy day, he's going to probably just watch a movie because you can't really do much gardening. So I'm going to take this with me, all of these elements, get them all stitched. So let's just fold that now under and over and under, over and under. So there's the top of our pouch. I'm going to take the little needlebook higher because I like how that breaks that line. There's strawberries upside down too, due to me changing the plan. So you know what I might do? I'm going to lift that up to there. It hides the fact that the little strawberry's upside down, because remember that was going to be folded, so that was one element that needed to be solved, design element. I can rejig this. I think I could get, I hate to think how long this video is now. I'm going to put a little piece of that in there, a pop of red. So that will go somewhere there, probably underneath that. Underneath that, I will put a little piece of calico behind this little guy and stitch him away from this piece. If not calico, it might be a little piece of wadding, because I'll be doing ribbon embroidery on that and stitches, so it just needs that little bit of reinforcement. Otherwise, that flimsy little piece of fabric's just going to disintegrate. So that will also happen. That works there, that works there. That now can sit there. There we go. Concept is coming together. The only thing I need is a little piece down here. I don't like that. I don't like it. No, I'd rather invest time into stitching that piece of ribbon embroidery. So I'm now looking for something to go down here. Oh, I know what I haven't used is a bit of that fabric. That could be repeated. What else haven't I used? I'll find something. I'm just looking around my desk. Hang on, hold the horses. Hold. Here's my container of neutrals. And we were dipping into this when we first started the project. So I will find elements in here that appear elsewhere. That's a good piece. I can do a lot of stitching on that. I can slide it in under all of that. It's a good size. Bring it down a little bit. Let's use that. That's a piece of old hemp. So that can slide in under there. That'll give me a chance to get a little bit more stitching. You know, all of this crosshatch stitching to drift. Yeah, I like that. That means that stitching can drift down to that bottom edge. Got a little strawberry there. What else can we... Maybe we use a bit of this. Oh, what fell out? That could go there. That creates a bit of interest. Do we have another strawberry? Oh, I promise I will leave you in peace in a moment. Wasn't there a strawberry? Big guy. Here. Sort of looks similar to that. But there was a strawberry by itself here. And there. Let's take that. Let's see what we can do. Don't mind that. Sorry, strawberry, you've just been hacked. What if that went there? I like the text. Maybe that goes there. Maybe this gets cut back. Oh my goodness, guys, you could fiddle for hours. What if that went through like that? Get rid of you for a moment. Oh, I like that. So he's out. This fell out before, and I'm thinking I will use it because it just adds another element of texture. So maybe that just pops up there, breaks up the rectangular look, and that gives me a chance to stitch. That there, that there. I like open daily. The strawberry farm is open daily. Maybe it can be part of this. What if it's just the little morsel behind the house? I don't mind that. Don't have to see the whole house. It could be a bollard, a billboard. It's very messy. I'm going to pin it there. I like the words. I love the strawberry. I think I like it actually on the little needle book coming over the top of the house. Okay, so the only place where I have some to cover is there, but that fabric is not bad. Now I'll need to cover it because I'm stitching it down. Surely I'll find something. I'll find something. Maybe it's a piece of lace. Yeah, maybe it's a piece of lace. What have we got here? Oh. Maybe I put a piece of crocheted something or something there. What about a bit of this? Because it's up on the butterfly. So that would make sense that that element goes there. See, I can justify anything. Let's consider it done. I think we've fiddled enough with this. Gosh, there's another hour. 40 minutes. Oh my goodness, this is a long video. Oh well. Takes time, it takes time. That's what we're going to do. I'll put that little bit of crocheted lace there, nice and textured. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye.